这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
Call it a day, because this moment has been earned. Before paper schedules, before office lights and glowing screens, a day of work had a clear shape. It began when the sky was pale and cold, and it ended when the light ran out. In the villages of Old England, men and women stepped onto wet ground before their minds were fully awake. The smell of soil stayed in the air. Boots sank slightly with every step. No one asked how many hours it would take. They only knew the work had to match the length of the day. Farming was not gentle. The land pushed back. Tools were heavy, and mistakes stayed with you. A wrong cut could ruin a harvest. A slow morning could mean hunger months later. So people learned to move with purpose. They bent, lifted, cut, and carried. Their world was small but demanding. A field was not just a place. It was survival spread across dirt and stone. As the sun rose, energy came with it. Muscles warmed. The first hours felt strong. Conversation was short but steady. Jokes were simple. Complaints were saved for later. This part of the day felt hopeful. There was still plenty of light, and the body believed it could handle anything. Then the sun climbed higher, and the day showed its teeth. Heat pressed down. Shadows disappeared. Sweat soaked clothes and dried again, leaving salt on skin. Hands shook when gripping tools. This was the first turning point. The mind whispered that enough had been done. The body disagreed. There was still too much left. People learned to ignore that voice. They worked through it because they had to. The field did not care about feelings. Crops waited. Time moved forward whether you wanted it to or not. So they pushed, step by step, row by row, telling themselves the light would change soon. When it finally did, it felt like a reward. The sun leaned just a little. The air softened. Birds returned to the sound of the field. This was not the end, but it felt closer. Strength came back in short bursts. One more pass. One more load. This was the second rise of the day. When hope returned but caution stayed. Late afternoon carried a different weight. Every motion cost more. Tools felt heavier even though they were the same. The body began to count effort instead of time. The mind focused only on what was right in front of it. No plans. No dreams. Just finish this part. And then it happened. The light turned warm and low. The field looked different. Softer. Quieter. A man stood still and listened. No commands. No rules. Just a sense that the day had spoken its last word. Enough had been taken from the body. Enough had been given to the land. He said it out loud so others could hear. Call it a day. Those words did not end work forever. They only ended this chapter. They carried relief, but also respect. Respect for limits. Respect for tomorrow. To stop at the right time was not weakness. It was skill learned through pain and experience. The phrase stayed because life stayed hard. When towns grew and stone replaced soil, builders used the same words. They stacked walls under open skies, ants cut by rock and lime. When the sun dropped behind roofs and the dust settled, someone would say it. Call it a day. The wall would still be there tomorrow. On the water, sailors learned the same lesson. The sea did not care about effort either. When wind failed and darkness came fast, pushing on could mean death. Lower the sails. Secure the ropes. Call it a day. Live to sail again. Small shops followed the rhythm too. Candles burned low. Lamps flickered. When customers left and silence filled the room, the owner closed the door, stretched tired fingers, and said the words. The work was done for now. Time moved forward, but the feeling stayed the same. Factories replaced fields. Bells replaced sunsets. Shifts were measured, not felt. Even then, workers waited for that moment when noise stopped, shoulders dropped, and breath came easier. Call it a day. Here comes another rise in the story. The world learned how to work without stopping. Machines ran through the night. Lights erased darkness. Work could stretch past the body's limits if no one said otherwise. That was when the phrase gained a new kind of power. It became a shield. To say call it a day was to draw a line. It meant the body mattered. It meant rest was part of the job, not a reward for finishing everything. Nothing was ever fully finished anyway. When work moved into offices, the struggle changed shape. The body sat still, but the mind ran non-stop. Numbers, plans, messages, screens. Hours slipped by without the sun's help. The old signal was gone, but the need remained. Eyes burned. Thoughts slowed. Small mistakes appeared. That was the modern version of the field at dusk. The work stopped giving back. The day was still there, but you were not. That is when the old words returned again. Quietly. Without drama. Someone leaned back, closed a file, shut down a screen, and said it. Call it a day. The phrase survived because it tells the truth. There is always more work. there's always another task waiting. If you wait for everything to be done, you will never stop. The words give permission to be human. Think about your own life. You push through fatigue. You answer one more message. You promise yourself it is the last thing. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is not. But there is always a moment when continuing costs more than it gives. That moment is ancient. It does not belong to clocks or bosses or screens. It belongs to people standing under a darkening sky, feeling the weight in their hands, knowing tomorrow still needs them. When you say call it a day, you are standing in that long line of workers, farmers, builders, and sailors. You are choosing balance over damage. You are not quitting. You are preparing. Call it a day, rest well, and let tomorrow have its turn.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。